She said, "I'm not canceling girls' night just because your mom's in the hospital. She'll be fine." I didn't argue. But when she came back the next morning, the empty apartment told her everything she needed to know. My mom is the toughest person I know. She raised me and my sister on her own, working 2 jobs and never once letting us see her sweat. She taught me what loyalty and sacrifice look like. So when my phone rang on Thursday afternoon and I saw my sister's name, I felt that cold dread that only comes when you know something is wrong with a parent. My mom had fallen. She had hit her head. She was in the hospital. I left work in a daze, my mind a blur of worst-case scenarios. I called my girlfriend Maya on the way. We've been together for 2 years, living in my apartment for the last one. I thought we were serious. I thought we were building a life together. "Hey," I said, my voice shaky. "I'm on my way to the hospital. My mom fell. It might be serious." There was a pause on the other end of the line, filled not with concern but with the sound of music and other people laughing. "Oh my God, seriously," she said. Her tone was one of annoyance, not alarm. "Tonight? But it's girls' night. We have reservations." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Maya, did you hear me? My mom is in the hospital." "Yeah, I heard you," she snapped, her voice sharp with impatience. "But what do you want me to do about it? I'm not a doctor. I'm not canceling girls' night just because your mom's in the hospital. She'll be fine. She's always fine." The callousness of it hit me like a physical blow. My mom, the woman who had welcomed Maya into our family, was just an inconvenience, a scheduling conflict. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. Something in my brain just switched off. The part of me that loved her, that made excuses for her growing selfishness, just went dark. "You're right," I said, my voice suddenly calm and empty. "You go have fun." I hung up the phone and kept driving. I spent the next 8 hours in a cold, sterile waiting room while doctors ran tests. My sister and I just sat there holding on to each other, terrified. Around midnight, the doctor finally came out. My mom had a concussion and a fractured wrist, but she was stable. The relief was so overwhelming it almost brought me to my knees. She would need to stay for a few days for observation. As I sat by her bedside watching her sleep, my phone buzzed. It was a notification from social media. Maya had tagged herself in a series of photos. There she was with her friends, laughing, raising glasses of champagne at some fancy new bar. The caption read, "Some things are just too important to cancel." And in that moment, sitting in the quiet hum of the hospital, I knew my relationship was over. But it wasn't going to be a simple breakup. It was going to be a complete and total reset. She thought my mom was an inconvenience. I was about to show her what a real inconvenience looked like. She thought some things were too important to cancel. I was about to cancel her entire life. Update 1. I didn't leave the hospital until the sun came up. I spent the night in that uncomfortable visitor's chair, watching my mom's heart rate on the monitor and making a plan. My grief and fear from the night before had cooled into something hard and clear. Resolve. Maya hadn't just disrespected me, she had disrespected my mother. That was a line that could never be uncrossed. Before I left, I spoke with my mom's doctor. He said she'd be discharged in 2 or 3 days, but she would need round-the-clock care for at least a few weeks. She couldn't be alone. My sister had kids and a job she couldn't leave. The responsibility was mine, and I knew exactly where she would stay. My first call was to a 24-hour moving and logistics company. Not a regular moving company, but one that specialized in discreet, high-speed corporate relocations. I explained the situation. I needed an apartment completely cleared out, with one person's belongings packed and moved to a storage unit, and the rest of the furniture removed and stored elsewhere. I needed it done in the next 6 hours. The dispatcher quoted me a price that would make most people faint. I told him to double it if his team could be there in 30 minutes and be gone before noon. They were there in 20. While they worked, I made other calls. I called the management company for my apartment building. I explained that my cohabiting girlfriend was no longer a resident and that I needed her key fob deactivated immediately. Since she was never on the lease, it was a simple, straightforward process. They confirmed it would be done within the hour. Next, I called my bank. I had a joint credit card with Maya, which I primarily paid for. I reported the card lost and had it canceled. I then went through my own accounts, changing passwords and setting up alerts for any unusual activity. The moving team was incredible. They were a silent, efficient army. They swarmed the apartment, and in under 3 hours, every trace of Maya was gone. Her clothes, her makeup, her books, her collection of ridiculously expensive shoes. All of it was packed, labeled, and loaded onto a truck destined for a storage unit across town. Then they cleared out all the furniture. The couch we bought together, the dining table, the bed, everything. By 11 a.m., the apartment was a hollow, echoing space. It was perfect. It was a blank slate. My next call was to a medical supply company. I ordered a hospital-grade adjustable bed, a walker, a shower chair, and everything else my mom would need for her recovery. I arranged for it to be delivered and set up that afternoon. Then I went shopping. I bought new bedding, soft towels, and groceries. I bought all of my mom's favorite things. The tea she likes, the brand of cookies she loves, the puzzle books she does to keep her mind sharp. I was transforming the apartment from a home I had shared with a selfish stranger into a sanctuary for the most important woman in my life. Around 1 p.m. as I was setting up the new bed in the master bedroom, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Maya. So hungover. On my way home. Don't forget to pick up my dry cleaning, I didn't reply. I just looked around the empty apartment, at the hospital bed in the center of the room, and felt a profound sense of peace. She was coming home, but not to the home she was expecting. She was about to walk into the consequences of her choices. The empty apartment wasn't just about revenge. It was a statement. It was the physical manifestation of the emptiness she had shown me when I needed her most. Update 2. Maya arrived home around 2:30 in the afternoon. I wasn't there. I was back at the hospital with my mom. But my video doorbell captured the entire glorious moment. The footage is something I will treasure for the rest of my life. You can see her walking up to the door, sunglasses on, fumbling in her purse for her keys. She tries her T-fob. Nothing. She tries it again, a look of confusion on her face. She tries the manual key. It fits, but the deadbolt I had the building maintenance change that morning doesn't turn. The confusion turns to annoyance. She starts banging on the door, yelling my name. After a few minutes of this, she pulls out her phone. My phone, sitting on my mom's bedside table, starts ringing. I glance at the screen and decline the call. The doorbell footage shows her staring at her phone in disbelief. She calls again. I decline it again. This is when the panic starts to set in. She starts pacing back and forth on the welcome mat, running her hands through her hair. She calls her friends. Her voice a high-pitched shriek that the doorbell microphone picks up perfectly. He locked me out? All my stuff is in there. Can you believe him? After about 20 minutes of this public meltdown, she finally gives up and storms off. The text started a few minutes later. A flood of them. They started angry, full of accusations and threats. Then they shifted to confusion, asking what was going on. Finally, they devolved into pleading messages, asking me to just call her. I didn't respond to a single one. That evening, I sent her a single, simple email. The subject line was your new address. The body of the email contained the address of the storage facility, the unit number, and the access code. It also included a scanned receipt showing that the unit was prepaid for 1 month. The email ended with one sentence. All of your belongings have been safely stored. Please retrieve them at your earliest convenience. The next day, the real war began. Unable to reach me, she unleashed her friends. They started a smear campaign on social media, posting vague but pointed stories about a toxic ex who had thrown their friend out on the street with nothing. They painted a picture of me as a controlling monster. This was the move I was waiting for. I had been documenting everything. I had the time-stamped social media posts of her girl's night. I had the text message she sent me the next morning about her hangover and her dry cleaning. I put it all together in a single, shareable folder. I didn't post it publicly. That wasn't my style. Instead, I sent it to a small, carefully selected group of our mutual friends. The reasonable ones. The people who had known me for years. The email I sent them was short and factual. I know you're seeing a lot of things online right now. I just wanted you to have the full context of the situation. This is why I ended my relationship with Maya. My mother is recovering, and that is my only priority. The narrative flipped almost instantly. The story of Maya partying while my mom was in the hospital spread through our social circles like a shockwave. Her friends who had been so quick to attack me were suddenly faced with questions from people who had the real story. Their vague accusations looked pathetic in the face of cold, hard facts. 2 days later, I brought my mom home from the hospital. I settled her into the master bedroom in her new hospital bed. The apartment was quiet and peaceful. It was a place of healing. That afternoon, as my mom was napping, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was Maya's mother. She started the conversation by yelling, accusing me of being cruel and heartless. I let her go on for a few minutes. When she finally paused to take a breath, I spoke. my voice calm and steady. "Ma'am," I said, "your daughter chose to go out for champagne with her friends while my mother was in the hospital with a brain injury. She told me, and I quote, 'She'll be fine.' Then she came home the next day and asked me to pick up her dry cleaning. I have moved her things into a secure storage unit. I have given her the address. I have done nothing illegal or cruel. I have simply removed a person from my life who showed me, in a moment of crisis, that she has no heart. My mother is now recovering in my home. She is my only concern. Do not call me again." I hung up the phone. The silence that followed was the sound of a chapter of my life closing for good. Final update. The weeks that followed were a strange mix of quiet healing and distant pathetic chaos. My life revolved around my mom's recovery. I took time off work to be with her. We fell into a comfortable routine of doctor's appointments, physical therapy, and long afternoons spent doing puzzles and watching old movies. Having her in my home, in that space that had once been filled with so much tension and superficiality, was a gift. We talked more than we had in years. She told me stories about her childhood, about raising me and my sister. I saw her not just as my mom, but as a woman of incredible strength and resilience. The apartment was filled with her quiet laughter, and it felt more like a home than it ever had with Maya. Meanwhile, Maya's world was unraveling. The social media smear campaign had backfired spectacularly. Once the real story got out, she became a social pariah. Her friends, the same ones who had encouraged her selfishness, quickly abandoned her. Their world is built on image and perception, and being associated with someone who partied while her boyfriend's mom was in the hospital was bad for their brand. She was forced to move back in with her parents. Her lifestyle consultant business, which was entirely funded by me and existed only on social media, evaporated overnight. She had no income, no apartment, and a rapidly shrinking circle of friends. She tried to fight back, of course. I received a long, threatening letter from a lawyer she had hired. It was full of baseless accusations and demanded financial compensation for her unlawful eviction in emotional distress. I simply passed it on to my own lawyer. He sent back a one-page response that was a legal work of art. It included a copy of my lease agreement showing she was not a tenant, a detailed invoice for the thousands of dollars of personal expenses she had charged to my credit card, and a gentle reminder that slander and defamation were serious offenses with significant legal penalties. We never heard from her lawyer again. The final, and in many ways, saddest chapter of this story came about a month ago. My mom was doing much better. She was out of the hospital bed and was able to get around with a walker. We were having lunch at a small cafe near her physical therapist's office. As we were leaving, I saw Maya. She was coming out of a store across the street. She looked different. The confident, arrogant woman I had known was gone. She looked tired and lost. Our eyes met for a brief second across the street. I saw a flash of something in her face. Shame, regret, maybe even a flicker of the person she used to be. I just gave her a small, neutral nod and then turned my attention back to my mom, helping her carefully into the car. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel satisfaction. I just felt a quiet sense of pity. She had made her choice. She had prioritized a night of cheap fun over a moment of human decency, and she was living with the consequences. My mom is almost fully recovered now. She's moving into a new apartment in a senior living community just a few blocks from me next month. She's excited to have her own space again, but I'm going to miss having her here. The experience, as awful as it was, brought us closer than ever. I learned something profound through all of this. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to simply remove yourself. You don't have to scream. You don't have to fight. You just have to decide that your life, your peace, and the well-being of the people you truly love are more important than the drama and selfishness of those who don't. She thought my mom's health was an inconvenience. In the end, the only thing that got canceled was her. And my life is so much better for it.